They said every time we called out to him, he never answers. Every time we vector aircraft to him, he moves. So who do you think it is? They said, we just assumed it was you Americans. January 1990, and I did not know anything about the Belgian wave. I just knew that I was going over to Europe. And the plane, we had stopped off in Philadelphia, which is kind of where my mom was staying and everything. So I took the time to go grab 2 cheesesteaks, 2 hoagies, and I was like, okay, I'm going to Germany for my first intel assignment. This is going to be cool. F-15s flying around. We got on the plane, and just as we were coming down over, we had just passed by Iceland, and we're coming down over Scotland, going towards Frankfurt, Rhein-Main Air Base. I'm eating my cheesesteak, and some guy behind me is like, I smell cheesesteak. Someone sell me a cheesesteak. So I sold it to him. And he was standing right beside me, and I'm looking out the window, and all of a sudden, I see this object dancing in the clouds. And I'm like, hey, what's that? What is that? What is that? And the guy beside me and the guy eating the other cheesesteak, he's like, actually it was a hoagie, but he's looking, and we're all looking, trying to figure out what this thing is. And the sun is just coming up. And then all of a sudden it goes into a cloud and we don't see it anymore. So I don't think about it. I mean, I thought about it and thought I probably just exposed some super secret classified stuff that someone is going to get me in trouble for. So I get to my unit, I sit there for a while, and finally I go to my weapons officer and I say, what's that thing flying around in the sky? And they look at me like I'm an idiot. Now, again, still didn't know anything about the Belgian wave. So go to Desert Storm, come back, and British AWACS lands at our base. And they're like, what are you doing with the Americans? Because I still had my accent. So they're like, why don't you come fly with us? So I asked my boss, can I go fly with them? He said, yeah, we're flying around Europe. And finally I go, what's that thing out there that does the Ziggy-Zaggy thing? And they're like looking at me and they're like, you know. I was like, no, I don't know. They're like, come on, Logan, you know. I was like, no, I don't know. Just tell me. So finally they put in this tape and they show this aircraft going across Europe. And it's hauling ass. So I'm like, who's that? And they're like, you know. I was like, look, guys, let's not go through that again. Who's that? And they said, that's your SR-71. And I was like, well, that's not him. He's going in a straight line. What about the Zig-Zaggy thing? And this is when they blew my mind. They pulled out another tape or something, put it in, and you can see just about every rotation of the radar. There's this object moving all over Germany and parts of Belgium and stuff like that. I was so excited, guys. I said, who's that MF right there? and the guy goes, Logan. I was like, look, let's not go through that. Who's that guy? And they looked at me and they said, we don't know. They said every time we called out to him, he never answers. Every time we vector aircraft to him, he moves. Like the wind, he's gone. And he's in another position. And I was like, so who do you think it is? They said, we just assumed it was you Americans. And you got some special program you don't want to tell us about. And I'm like, nothing I know of, but this is interesting. And so the funny thing that happened after that was I asked them a question, and I think you guys will find this interesting. I said, I know about AWACS. I get it. But if you're seeing it, is the rest of your squadron seeing it? And he goes, oh yeah, we all know about this guy. And I was like, so why nobody's talking? He goes, we all lose our jobs when we start talking about this thing. Because we, either it's the stigma or whatever, but it doesn't work. So I asked one more question. I said, this is going to sound weird, guys. I'm not saying you guys can give me an answer, but if you're British AWACS and we have NATO AWACS, we have US AWACS, the Israelis have AWACS, Japan has AWACS, Russia has AWACS, I would think then that you're all probably seeing the same guy flying around at some time. And he just looked at me and said, yeah, I would pretty much go with that. And that was it. That was it for me. I was like, okay, somebody's not, there's stuff going on. And then later on, I heard about the Belgian wave, and I was like, could these guys be the same guys?
Okay, but hold on. So for our listeners, just what does the acronym AWACS mean?
Airborne Warning and Command and Control System.
So your point is that when you saw something that technologically we're unaware of with our nation, you then kind of inquired, and if it's not China, Russia, all the other countries that you listed, and they're looking at it too, and they don't know who it is, then it's somebody unknown to the major dominant technologically advanced nations of planet Earth.
Yes, that's where I was going. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm like, if you're AWACS and all your AWACS systems pretty much work the same, then one would assume that all of you guys with AWACS are all seeing guys like this zipping around the place and whatever.
And from the vantage point of 2026, what you know now, looking back on that, because a lot of people tried to explain it away as some secret U.S. platform up there. They all thought that was true. Do you think it was true, or it really was something unidentified?
I'm not that smart, but I do not assume that it was a U.S. platform. Not the way that sucker's moving. Because think about it. F-117, we kind of knew it was coming out, and then it came out, and then we saw it. B-2, we kind of knew it was coming out. This thing has been going on for like, how many years? And we still haven't had a program come out from the U.S. saying this is ours. So, I mean, we got to flaunt our stuff to let people know, hey, we're the big guy on the block. And this is one of those things that has never come out. Now, what I didn't realize was this. I didn't know what this thing was. And then James Fox asked me to be on his show and talk. And I wanted to talk about what we did in the task force that was unclassified, just to let everybody know. The task force wasn't there to go out to the public to tell everybody what was going on. The task force was to answer the questions that the pilots were coming up with, because they kept seeing these things, and some of them were scaring the shit out of the pilots. Excuse my English. But the stuff was scaring the crap out of the pilots. So when I worked on the program with James Fox, he says, hey, Logan, by the way, you haven't seen the whole movie now that I fixed everything up, so I'm going to send you a copy so you can look. And then we got to the Calvine picture, and then I was like, holy crap, that's the thing I saw outside the window. And he called me back when I told him that, and he goes, when did you see this? So if I remember correctly, the Calvine picture is August of 1990, and what I saw was January of 1990.
Wow. Right. Let me
go ahead.
I just want to back you up a second, but finish this story because I got to back up for a second after you finish this.
No, that's pretty much it. We were just sitting there going, he goes, so he was like verifying. He's like, so you saw this thing and from this angle. And I was like, yeah. I said, the way it was going in the clouds, I said, it kept turning like kind of like a gray, silverish, dark color. And then it would turn back again. But I said, I said, the way it went into the clouds, sometimes it didn't go in from the point that it came out. It's like it went in, but then it came out this way, then it went this way, and just really weird. No aircraft flies like that.